Alrighty, everybody. It is currently Monday, July 28th, 2025, and I'm coming at you live from a mysterious and magical island somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea. We're getting better at it, guys. I didn't stumble over that one. It was just more of a slow burn, you know what I mean? A nice slow burn intro. Some people are calling it already, in spite of the fact that it hasn't even been published yet. Some people are calling it, the Mad Men of shitty podcast intro. So I think that's a that's a good positive sign. But today's episode, I know I usually talk about whatever meaningless nonsense is going on in my life and whatever meaningless nonsense is going on in the world because let's be honest here, that's most of the stuff that's happening, but we don't have time for that today because I have 14 pages of notes for you guys. 14 pages of notes about The Tempest, which is one of Shakespeare's comedies. I think I've only ever done episodes about his comedies. The first I've only done two. This is the second one, and they were both the comedies. The first one I did was A Midsummer Night's Dream, which was pretty funny, to be fair. I'm sure if you're like watching the play, if you're like a dumb guy like me, and you go to the local community college, or I mean, I wouldn't go to the local high school. I would say that's an area I personally would avoid, not because I'm legally prohibited, but just yeah, common sense. I don't know. I would avoid that region, but I think if you like went to one of those plays, you'd be like you wouldn't be able, you wouldn't find it funny, right? I think just because of like the flowery, old kind of dramatic language that's used there, like you just associate old English with like, drama and not comedy. But I think when put in plain English, it was pretty funny, and this one's pretty funny too. It's kind of Shakespeare was just fucking around at this point, I think. I don't know if this was like the beginning of his career or like the end of his career when he made the comedies, or he was just like smattering them around in there, but they're funny, right? You hear like you're like a play being a comedy is like that doesn't make it's stupid, right? And also people that write plays, they're not the funniest people. They're just not. They don't have, the common man's sense of humor, but I feel like Shakespeare did. And I don't know if I have the common man's sense of humor. I don't know if I have any sense of humor, but um, Shakespeare did have a pretty good sense of humor. And this play is it's got some funny parts in it. I wouldn't say overall it's a comedy. I'd say this is like a rom-com, to be honest. And also a Midsummer Night's Dream was a rom-com too. This is Shakespeare loves writing rom-coms. I don't know if all his plays are rom-coms. I've never like the only full one I've seen is the movie of Romeo and Juliet, the one that came out in 1969. And it had a questionably aged young woman naked. Apparently, I didn't know that until after. But to be fair, when I watched it, I was 16 as well, so that doesn't make it. It's just it's not good. So don't be seeking that one out, dude. You're gonna have to compromise, and you're gonna have to watch like the shitty Leonardo DiCaprio one or Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet's pretty good as well, but we gotta get to it, dude. We gotta get to the Tempest. All right, and Tempest, by the way, spoiler alert, it means storm. So we're gonna be talking about. You're thinking just one big storm? No, 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 no. We're talking about multiple storms. But the first storm we have is a pretty big storm. So a violent storm rages around a small boat whose master tells the boatswain to tell the sailors to hop to so that the ship doesn't run aground. So basically, these guys are on a boat, and the master of the boat, who I guess the captain, I don't know, they call him the master in the Spark Notes summary of the play is like, yo, fucking tell the little minions to get to work, all right? Because this thing is we're either gonna hit ground or we're gonna sink. Either way, we got we got some people on here. That's not gonna be good. And so the sailors arrive on the top deck, followed by a group of nobles. The boatswain orders the sailors around and tells the nobles to go below deck. And one of the nobles tells the boatswain that one of the passengers is of great importance, but he doesn't care and focuses on saving the ship. So I guess the boatswain is like the in between of the captain and the common sailors. I did Google the definition, but I didn't really remember it. I had to Google a few definitions because even in the SparkNotes summary, they use some fancy words that I didn't exactly know what they meant. Even in the context, I didn't really. I was like the boatswain. I don't just call him the fucking. Just call him the top or the bottom bitch or whatever, like pimps. Pimps got their bottom bitch, and they're like, "That's my bottom bitch. She's my go between me and my other bitches. That's basically what the boatswain is. The boatswain is just the bottom bitch. And the nobles, there's a ton of nobles on this boat. I guess they put all the nobles on one boat. And they're being like, "Oh, we got important people on here." And he's like, "Dude, the ship is about to sink. Just go below deck to your fancy, beds or whatever. Go eat your roast pig with an apple in its mouth. I got bigger problems up here." That's what the boatswain says to them. So some of the nobles go below deck, and 4 lines later, the three others arrive, and the three others are named Gonzalo, Sebastian, and Antonio. And Sebastian and Antonio curse the sailors and boatswain. Well, they are clearly scared. So they're so these guys, Antonio and Sebastian, they're the funniest duo and they're hilarious. There's a few funny duos, but Antonio and Sebastian are probably they're just complete assholes, and it's so funny. And so they're just like, I hate those guys so much. Like their voices are shivering. They're scared out of their minds. But instead of being like, I'm scared, they're like, those guys up there are idiots. Instead of, just saying they're scared of the storm. They're a little bit doggish in that way. They're scared of the storm. To be fair, if you're out in the middle of the ocean, you're going to be scared of anything that's going on. You're going to be like, is the ship about to sink, dude? That's why I could never go on a cruise, dude. I would hear like one creak or one like extra big wave, and I'd be like, all right, that's it. We're all going to get eaten by a leviathan. So all the nobles are now below deck, and some of the sailors come below deck, wet and crying, and Gonzalo orders them to pray for the king and prince. And this guy Gonzalo, he kind of seems like a dick right now because he's making these sailors pray, but I think this is just like a tactic to calm him down because Gonzalo is a pretty solid guy, at least to the other nobles. I don't know, maybe he doesn't like the common people, but he's a pretty solid guy. So I think he's just trying to calm the sailors down. And so there is a loud indiscernible noise, and Sebastian and Antonio and Gonzalo, thinking the boat is sinking, go to search for the king. So that's Act 1, Scene 1 of the play. So what do we got here? A storm is going on, people are freaking out, and the nobles are looking for the big noble. All right, they're looking for the king to make sure he's safe in case the ship goes down, because obviously that's the king. It's without the king, the kingdom isn't going to be run well. So they go look for the guy. So now we're on to Act 1, Scene 2, Part 1. And you're thinking, that was a pretty quick scene. How much more could there be? You have no idea how much more. This was like 4 hours of writing. And maybe it's because I'm a slow writer, right? I kind of write like a fifth or a 5-year-old learning how to write for the first time. But it was a lot of writing. So Act 1, Scene 2, Part 1. So Prospero and Miranda stand on the shore, just having watched the ship wreck. So at this point, the nobles looked for the king, but to no avail. The sailors did all they could, and the ship wrecked. And there's an island nearby, and this guy Prospero and his daughter Miranda are sitting there being like, "Fucking idiots! Why'd you go here, dude? Don't go here. Everyone knows don't go here." So Miranda asks if any of the people were injured, and Prospero says no, then tells Miranda that it's time she learned where she came from. So this is just Prospero's just dropping some lore real quick. After Miranda was like, are any of the people dead? And Prospero was like, no, all right, now listen up, I gotta tell you a story. So Prospero says he used to be the Duke of Milan, but he neglected politics to focus on his studies. And his studies are magic. I don't know if we'll get to that later if he reveals that he's magic, but his studies are magic. And Prospero's brother Antonio, that's the same Antonio as our boys Sebastian and Antonio, saw this as an opportunity, and with the help of the king of Naples, raised an army and drove Prospero out. So Prospero was like, I'm done being a duke, dude. I got to focus on magic. I got to figure out how to make potions and stuff like that. I got to figure out how to turn myself into a cat or whatever. And to be fair, yeah, I would also be like, no, dude, you can't do that. You can't be the duke, right? Basically, like the ruler of this city. Milan is a city. You can't be like the duke of a city and then just spend all your time doing magic. I don't know if Antonio went about it in the best way. I don't know if he had the most pure intentions, but he teamed up with the king of Naples and he was like, Prospero, get out of here. And that's why Prospero's on this island. So after being driven out, Prospero's subjects, along with Gonzalo is just a solid guy throughout this whole thing, helped him escape on a shitty boat, like a not seaworthy boat. And so that's why he's kind of, we'll get to it. That's why he's kind of beefing with these guys. But Prospero says good luck brought his enemies to the island, and Miranda grows sleepy, maybe due to Prospero's magic. They say maybe. He definitely was making her fall asleep here because, as we'll find out, it wasn't just good luck. All right, this guy's a powerful wizard. It wasn't just good luck that brought them to this island. So, after Miranda goes to sleep, Prospero talks with his spirit, Ariel, and we learn that they caused the storm. So, I don't know. I guess Ariel can do. I think Prospero can do magic too, but he kind of just seems like a lazy guy because he makes Ariel do all the magic for him. But he had Ariel go out and like become like the wind and the lightning or whatever and cause the storm that made the ship hit the shore. So Ariel tells Prospero that everyone was brought to shore safely and that the crew has been charmed to sleep as he requested because Prospero doesn't really have beef with the crew of the ship. You know what I mean? These guys are just common sailors. Prospero doesn't really have time for that. He's not really beefing with these guys. So he's like, Ariel, dude, just make him fall asleep for a little bit. I don't want to deal with these guys. And Prospero thanks Ariel, who reminds Prospero that he promised a year would be taken off his service for not complaining. And this is Prospero. This pisses Prospero off. And he reminds Ariel that he saved him from an evil witch who imprisoned him on this island. And then Prospero, after this, threatens to imprison him for 12 years if he doesn't stop complaining, then tells him to take the form of a sea nymph that is only visible to Prospero. So Ariel causes the storm, says, hey, Prospero, dude, I haven't really been complaining a whole lot. You promised to take a year off my duty. And Prospero's like, dude, shut up. We got shit to do. And so he makes him become a sea nymph. I don't know. I think a sea nymph is like when I think of like a nymph, I think of like a sexy little lady. And I don't know, maybe Prospero was just feeling horned up. He's been on this island alone with only his daughter for God knows how long, probably like 15, 16 years, something like that. And so I can't really blame him too much. Prospero then wakes Miranda, who says she fell asleep due to the strangeness of his story. Miranda, dude, your dad's a wizard and you just randomly fell asleep. I get that he's your dad, dude, but maybe we put two and two together here and maybe think about the situation a little rationally. So that's the end of Act 1, Scene 2, Part 1. Now we're on to Act 1, Scene 2, Part 2. And this is the only scene that has multiple parts in it. So after Miranda is fully awake, Prospero suggests that they talk to their servant Caliban, who is the son of the witch who imprisoned Ariel. So I guess a witch used to live on this island. She was not a great lady. She was not the nicest lady, even meaner than Prospero. And Caliban is her son. And it doesn't really say whether he is like human looking, but later in the story they describe him as like a half man, half fish. So this guy's pretty odd looking, and Prospero doesn't like him too much. And so Caliban appears cursing, and Prospero threatens to give him cramps at night. And Caliban responds, saying that the island used to be his before Prospero showed up. So Caliban's got some beef with Prospero. It's kind of one of those things, like he just hates his boss, and I can't blame him too much because Prospero he's not the kindest man in the world. And Caliban hates him. Caliban says, I used to have this island and this guy in a prison. I don't think Caliban knows any magic, though, because he, like, schemes throughout the play and doesn't use magic at all, which is weird because he's literally a son of a witch. So Prospero calls him ungrateful and a lying slave, then reminds him that he educated him and that he is unfit for normal society. So this is our introduction to Prospero. First of all, he lies to his daughter, not about everything, but he lies about the fact that he caused the storm. Then he makes her fall asleep. Odd. And then he tells his slave, basically Ariel, to shut up and stop complaining. And then he tells this guy to shut up and stop complaining. He doesn't seem like the nicest guy. I get Prospero's under a lot of stress right now. He's got a big plan in the works, but still, you can be kind to people, Prospero. All right, you're magic. You can find some way to calm yourself down. And so Caliban says he can only curse because Prospero taught him. So Caliban, he's quick with the remarks, dude, and he hates Prospero. He does not like him at all. Prospero tells him to shut up and to go get firewood and threatens him with more cramps. And that is, a little bit of a point in Prospero's favor because, like I said, he is magic. He could be like, dude, I'm just going to turn you into a frog. And how about you stop talking then? But instead, he's just like, I'm going to give you cramps at night, that's a pretty bad punishment. Anyone that's like woken up with cramps, I used to have it all the time. Just waking up with cramps and you have to like straighten your leg out, that shit does suck. So I get why Caliban is pretty pissed at him. So then Ariel comes back and he's singing and leading a young man named Ferdinand. Prospero tells Miranda to look at Ferdinand, and instantly she falls in love. Miranda, she was brought to this island by Prospero because Prospero was her dad when she was like pretty young. Um, this isn't an Epstein Island setup, dude. This is his daughter. He's on an island with his daughter. All right, this isn't some ancient Epstein's Island. I get it. There's a young girl here, and he's like making her fall asleep, and then a bunch of powerful people show up. I know it seems like an Epstein's Island type setup, but it's not. I promise. So, and Miranda's like never seen other people before. Like she was brought here when she was really young, so all she knows is like Prospero, Caliban, Ariel, and some of the other spirits that inhabit the island. So, yeah, she instantly falls in love, and Ferdinand falls in love too, and tells them that he is the Prince of Naples. So he is the King of Naples' son. Prospero, once again, not the greatest guy, but he shows a little bit of a restraint here by not just instantly killing him because I don't know, that's probably what I would have done. I would have been like, "Yo, daughter, fall asleep again, kill the son real quick," and then I'm gonna be like, "Yo, daughter, I don't know what happened to him. I guess he wandered off or whatever," but he doesn't kill him. Prospero, he wants them to fall in love, but not too quickly, and so he accuses Ferdinand of lying. I don't know. This guy, he's got like a big master plan in the works, but a lot of the things he does, they're not very masterfully executed. So Ferdinand draws his sword because he's like, dude, you're saying I'm lying. If I was the prince, would I have a sword? Would I be able to fight this well? And Prospero just like freezes him, just like stops him like midair. And Miranda pleads him to stop, but Prospero tells her that he is a mere Caliban compared to other men and that she is ignorant. And that's also like, once again, Prospero, that's your fault, dude. You could have like brought other people to this island. Like I said, he's a powerful wizard. He could have brought other people to this island, but instead he was just like, nope, you're living here alone with me. I don't know. Unusual decision by Prospero, but to be fair, he neglected his duties as like basically a king to study magic. So this is an odd guy that we're dealing with. And so then Prospero leads Ferdinand to his prison and thanks Ariel before sending him on another errand and promises to free him. He's like, yo, dude, we got to do this shit real quick. I know it's a lot of work. You're working overtime. You're not getting time and a half. You're not getting any pay at all, actually, but I'll free you. We just got to execute this plan. So then we're on to Act Two. And by the way, I thought like all plays had 3 acts in them. Like everyone's heard that before, like the 3-act system or whatever. This play has 5 acts in it. The fourth and fifth act are pretty short though. So I don't know. I think Shakespeare was just writing too much, and he was just like, "Oh fuck, dude, now I got to write a few more acts," and he just wrapped it up real quick. The 4 and 5. So Alonso, Sebastian, Antonio Gonzalo and the other nobles are searching for Ferdinand on another part of the island. Alonso is despondent, and Sebastian and Antonio mock Alonso. They're just dickheads, dude. They're so funny as he tries to cheer them up. Or wait, they mock Gonzalo as Gonzalo tries to cheer Alonso up. And so they're telling Alonso to shut up and they're telling Gonzalo to shut up. These guys are real fucking dickheads. So Alonso then freaks out on Gonzalo and expresses his regret about marrying off his daughter in Tunis, aka modern day Tunisia. And then one of the other lords speaks up, saying he saw Ferdinand swimming to shore, but Alonso is still distraught, dude. Alonso's just freaking out. It's Gonzalo should probably be the king of Naples because Alonso, spoiler alert, doesn't do like anything throughout this play. It's all Gonzalo. Gonzalo puts in all the work, dude. And then afterwards. So just remember, Alonso married off his daughter to Tunisia, which is in Africa. And so then Sebastian tells Alonso that he is responsible for Ferdinand's death, and that if he married his daughter to a European and not an African, then none of this would have happened. Antonio and Sebastian, just a couple of menaces, absolute dickheads for no reason. He blames the entire thing on Alonso for marrying off his daughter to an African. And Gonzalo's like, yo, dude, this is already a shit show, dude. You guys got to stop with the taunting Alonso and taunting me. We got to figure this situation out. So, and then Gonzalo changes the subject to what he would do if he was lord of the island. And so he's talking about what he would do if he was the lord of this island. He'd be like, dude, I'd be running this shit perfect. It would be amazing. Everyone would be happy all the time. And then Antonio and Sebastian mock his utopian vision before the invisible Ariel enters, playing music. And this is like a common theme throughout the whole thing, is that the spirits use music to control the people. So all the men except Sebastian and Antonio fall asleep, and Antonio tries to convince Sebastian to kill Alonso so that he can become the king of Naples. So Antonio's like, yo, Sebastian, if you kill Alonso right now, Alonso's sleeping, just stab him with your sword real quick, then you can become the king of Naples. And Sebastian is kind of like, yeah, dude, I don't really know if I should kill this guy or not. But then Antonio is like, dude, kicking Prospero out was your best idea. And so Sebastian kind of warms up to the idea, but Sebastian worries about his conscience, and Antonio dismisses this. So Antonio, Sebastian's kind of the dum dum, and Antonio's kind of like the dickhead, like genius mastermind. And so Antonio's like, dude, shut up. You're not gonna like worry too much after you kill him because you're gonna be the king. All right, just kill that dude real quick. You already made a good move by driving out Prospero. You make good decisions. Just kill this guy while he's sleeping real quick. No one's gonna know, and then you can become the king of Naples. So the two men draw their swords, but Sebastian hesitates, and at the same time, Ariel wakes up Gonzalo, who shouts, "Preserve the king!" And this wakes up the others as well. So they catch him like mid swing, dude. Like they have their swords up in the air, and Gonzalo wakes up like. And also, when he was sleeping, Ariel was like whispering about like a plot to kill Alonso, who's the king. So he wakes up, he's like, "Preserve the king!" And he sees these two dudes with their swords out. And Sebastian makes up a story about like what they were doing. I forget what he was saying. He was saying like we heard a noise or something like that. So we drew our swords. But they're like pointing their swords at Alonso. And so Gonzalo, he's suspicious, but he's like, fuck it, dude, I can't deal with this shit right now. We gotta go look for Ferdinand. And so that's Act 2, Scene 1. Now we're on to Act 2, Scene 2. Caliban enters carrying firewood and curses Prospero's spirits for tormenting him. He's like, these spirits, and they don't like, they're not like torturing him like insane, right? They're not like waterboarding him or whatever, like doing some fucking Abu Ghraib type shit to him. They're just like, they're just like pinching him and stuff like that and like tickling him. They're just fucking with this guy, dude. Caliban's just like a little like bitch ass fucking nerd that just gets bullied throughout the whole thing. So he then sees Tranquilo, who is Alonso's jester, and imagines him to be one of the spirits and covers himself with his cloak to avoid the torment. And Tranquilo, dude, look up like pictures of him. I don't know how he looks in the play, but you might be thinking Caliban's an idiot for thinking this dude's a spirit. He looks fucking freaky. All right, Tranquilo, he's got like the full on like clown mask on and shit like that. So he looks pretty freaky. So Caliban, bit of a nerd, bit of a dweeb, but we can't really blame him in this situation. So yeah, he hides under his cloak when he sees Tranquilo, and then Stefano, who is Alonso's butler, enters singing and drinking. He sees four legs. Oh wait, nope. Skip the part. So it begins to thunder, and Tranquilo looks for shelter. He sees Caliban and thinks that he could bring him money as a freak show, and then he decides to hide under his cloak too to get away from the storm. And then Stefano, who is Alonso's butler, enters singing and drinking, and he sees four legs sticking out from underneath the cloak and assumes it's a monster. And he also hears Caliban crying out and assumes that the monster is sick. Because remember, Caliban thinks Tranquilo is a spirit who's here to like torture him. And so this dude Stefano, who's already like blackout drunk, pulls up and he thinks it's a monster, and he thinks it's like a sick monster, and he offers the monster liquor to quell the sickness, but recognizes Stefano's voice or something like that, and so he pulls him out from underneath the cloak, and Stefano gives Caliban the liquor, and Caliban begs to worship him and offers to show him around the island. But the men mock him instead, dude. Poor Caliban. Caliban's just like a nerd who doesn't know how to not get bullied. Doesn't know how to not get bullied. All right. And so now we're on to Act 3, Scene 1. So back at Prospero's cell, Ferdinand takes over Caliban's duties, but unlike Caliban, he enjoys them because they serve the woman that he loves, who is Miranda, aka Prospero's daughter. And then Miranda enters, followed by Prospero, who is unseen by either of the two lovers. Shakespeare's taken a bit of, you know, fictional fictional liberties here, because I don't know how they didn't see him. I get that he's magic or whatever, but it doesn't say that he turned invisible or anything. He just walks in and they don't see him. So Miranda asks Ferdinand to stop working or to let her work for him, and Ferdinand denies this and instead flatters her. She then attempts to return the compliment, but stops remembering her father's instructions. So I guess Prospero was like, dude, don't talk to this guy. You can't fall in love with him quite yet. I got a bigger plan at work. And so Ferdinand says that he is a prince and most likely a king now, but Miranda stops him and asks him if he loves her. Dude, Miranda's just a lover girl, all right? She's just like, dude, Ferdinand, I don't care if you're the king or not. I've been on an island for my entire life with only my dad, so I don't really even know what a king is. Just do you love me, dude? And Ferdinand says yes, and she proposes marriage, and the two then leave, and Prospero emerges pleased, claiming he knew this would happen. And I don't really know if he knew this would happen, dude. Prospero's a bit of a I'm not gonna call him a liar, but he makes stuff up a fair bit. I kind of look at Prospero sometimes, and he's like, "Dude, exactly according to my plan," and I'm like, "Is that exactly according to your plan, Prospero? Because there's no way you planned this, right?" And maybe this instant isn't the best example of this, but he kind of has some moments like that where I'm like, Prospero, dude, I think you're just saying you came up with it. I don't really know if you came up with it or not. I don't know if this is part of your plan or anything. And so now we're on to Act 3, Scene 3. So Caliban, Stefano, and Trinculo, sorry, I say Trinquilo just because it's a Spanish word, are now wandering the island, and Stefano is ordering his servant monster, Caliban, to drink, dude. Stefano again. We got a lot of just funny dickheads in this thing. And so he's just fucking with Caliban, being like, yo, Caliban, you know what would be really cool right now? If you just got blackout drunk, dude. That would be so cool. And Caliban just like a nerd who's trying to fit in. And so he's like, yeah, it would be so totally cool if I get drunk. And so the three men, I don't know if you can count Caliban as a man because he's like half fish or whatever, but we'll count him as a man. So the three men are joking and jesting, and Stefano jokes that he will hang Trinculo if he mocks Caliban, who then begins complaining of the tyrannical Prospero. Ariel, who is invisible, appears saying, "Thou liest." And so Ariel, once again, dude, we got a funny dickhead. Ariel's just fucking with him. Ariel just comes in being like, you're lying, Caliban. And so Stefano tells Trinculo to not interrupt Caliban, but Trinculo's like, dude, that wasn't me. I didn't say that shit, dude. We're on a magical island anyway. We're talking to a half fish, half man right now. It wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world if there was like a disembodied voice or whatever. But, uh, and Stefano's still like, dude, shut up. Don't mock Caliban. He's my slave. All right. And so Caliban expresses his desire to get revenge on Prospero. So it's just three drunk dickheads walking around being like, yo, dude, you know it would be crazy if I fucking was like the king of this island or whatever. And Ariel says, thou liest again, and Stefano hits Trinculo before letting Caliban continue. Caliban says if they steal Prospero's books, they can kill him and Stefano can marry Miranda and rule the island. Trinculo tells Stefano that this is a good idea. He's like, once again, we got people just trying to be kings and stuff like that. And so Stefano's like, yeah, dude, let's totally kill this guy. Then I can become king of the island. Let's go. Let's get this thing going. How are we going to do this, Caliban? And Ariel sees this and he's like, fuck, dude, I can't have him kill Prospero. Prospero's like the only dude who can free me. If they kill Prospero, and he also likes Prospero, but he's probably thinking, like, if they kill Prospero, then I'll never be free because he was the one who, like, took me out of the prison in the first place. And so then Ariel begins playing music, and Caliban says it's nothing to fear. He's like, dude, sometimes there's just disembodied music, all right? That's just what happens on this island. And so the men then follow the music, planning to kill Prospero afterwards. So Ariel pulls up and he's like, fuck, this, they're about to ruin the whole plan. So he's like, I gotta lead these guys away. And so he does lead them away, but they're still like, we got to kill Prospero after we follow this disembodied music, dude. There's something going on here. This is a pretty fun thing. Let's follow this music. And so now we're on to Act 3, Scene 3. So the lords become exhausted as they search for Ferdinand, and Alonso just gives up, dude. Alonso, I guess he was born a royal and he's like been the king his whole life or whatever because he immediately gives up on finding his son, dude. Sorry, I had to take a sip of water there real quick. Alonso's just like, all right, we're done. Ferdinand's gone. He's dead. Just immediately gives up. And Antonio sees this and whispers to Sebastian that this would be like the perfect time to kill Alonso. because all the dudes are tired and Alonzo's just like, fuck it, dude. It's done anyway. I don't know. Maybe they're planning like a little bit of a fake suicide here, a little bit of a Jeffrey Epstein. Like I said, this is a Jeffrey Epstein's island, but they're doing a lot of similar things. And so I think they're planning like a fake suicide on Alonzo real quick. But then, as that's happening, strange music fills the air, and spirits arrive with a banquet and begin dancing around the table while inviting the king to eat and dance. They're like, "Dude, king, I know you're kind of pissed off right now about what's happening, but just come here, eat and dance real quick. It's gonna be a great fucking time, dude." And so Prospero enters as well, but he's invisible to everyone. And the men quarrel. They have a little bit of a fight real quick before Gonzalo says other travelers return with crazy stories and that they should eat. Gonzalo's basically like, dude, nothing about this is normal. If a table shows up with a bunch of food on it, we're all hungry anyway. Let's grab a real quick snack. Let's grab a Slim Jim or a Snickers or whatever, and let's dig into this nice big meal that was prepared for us. So, as they sit down to eat, a storm appears along with Ariel, who is now a harpy, and he mocks the men for trying to draw their swords before accusing Alonzo, Sebastian, and Antonio of driving Prospero from Milan into the sea. So Ariel, once again, saving the day. Prospero's really not putting in too much work. But to be fair, if you had a slave, you wouldn't be putting in that much work either. So Ariel tells them that nature has taken its revenge by taking Ferdinand and disappears, dude. So Ariel just shows up, flexing on the ops, and he's like, "We killed your son, dude. We killed your son. We got him. He's totally fucking dead." I get it. Alonzo did drive Prospero out of Milan, but it's like, dude, I don't know. It's not like the craziest thing in the world to me. Like I said, Prospero was like he wasn't doing his job. He was just like reading books about magic or whatever. He was learning card tricks and stuff. So I don't blame them too much for driving him out. Maybe they should have gone about it more, diplomatically, but still, I mean, I can't blame him too much for being like Prospero, dude. You can't just be doing magic tricks all day. You can't just be you can't just be whipping out a fucking four of diamonds and being like, "Is this your card?" You got to be the Duke of Milan. But Ariel's just flexing on him, and so the spirits re-enter and take the banquet away, and Prospero thanks them and states that his enemies are now in his control before leaving them. So yeah, shit deal, dude. They thought they had a bunch of food, and then a harpy shows up being like, haha, your son's dead, and then the food is gone. So not a great deal for these guys. And Alonzo tries to drown himself. Fair at this point. I'd just be like, dude, it's done. My son's dead. We got Sebastian and Antonio over there thinking we can't hear him talking about killing me. We can clearly hear him. I'm just going to kill myself right now. And then Sebastian and Antonio, they just decide to pursue the spirits while Gonzalo tells the minor lords to stop the men from doing anything rash. So a few of them go out to stop Alonzo from drowning, and a few of them go to follow Sebastian and Antonio, who are trying to kill the spirits. And it's like, dude, clearly these spirits are more powerful than you. Sebastian and Antonio, just a couple of dickhead morons. So now we're on to Act 4. Prospero gives his blessing to Ferdinand and Miranda, but tells the groom-to-be not to break his daughter's virgin knot, which is a quote, until the marriage, and Ferdinand agrees. So he's like, I get it, dude. You've been on a boat for a few weeks. My daughter's been here for her entire life. You guys are probably both a little bit like amped up, a little bit revved up, but you can't be doing that, all right? You can't be doing that in front of me. That's disrespectful as shit. And Ferdinand, I don't know how this guy is such a good dude, because he's like, yeah, I would instantly be like, you said you're in love with me? All right, dude, yeah, we're totally going to fucking bang. But Ferdinand, credit to him, he's like, no, I'm not going to bang you. I'm going to respect your father's wishes, which probably just got, and I may be talking about 16-year-olds here. I'm not exactly sure. So maybe I should just shut up, but I'm not, all right? Because in my head, they're like 20 years old, so that makes it okay. But I'd be like, I'd just be revved all the way up, dude. I'd just be like, let's go get it. So Prospero tells Ariel to call in some spirits to do a show for Ferdinand and Miranda, and the spirits arrive in the forms of Juno, Iris, and Ceres. And so Juno, if you don't know, she's like the queen of the gods. Iris is like the god of rainbows and stuff like that. And then Ceres, I don't know if that's how you say his name, he is the god of, what is he the god of? He's the god of like the harvest and stuff like that. and they do a show celebrating the engagement. They're like, "Let's go. We're the gods. We're hyped about your engagement. Let's get this thing going." So Juno wishes them honor and riches, and Ceres wishes them natural prosperity and plenty, which plenty I think means just having a bunch of kids and shit like that. And Ferdinand says he wishes he could live on the island forever. And my lights just oh, my light just went out. Sorry. I don't know, maybe it's not charged. All right. We're going to be doing this in the dark now, a little bit of Spec Ops type stuff, dude. I've been playing Ready or Not. I know what's going on, dude. Just flip down the night vision goggles real quick. I thought the power just went out for no reason in the middle of the day, but sorry for that disgusting fucking nose. But whatever. We ball. Um, and so they're doing this show for him. I'm just gonna be using my phone flashlight. So the spirits prepare to do a dance, but Prospero sends them away as he suddenly remembers Caliban is about to enact his plot to kill him. I don't know how Prospero fucking forgot about this, dude. Like I keep saying, Prospero's acting like he's a master genius, dude. Like he's just planning this whole thing. I don't know if he knows exactly what's going on, dude. I don't think he has an idea because he just is just like, oh fuck yeah, dude, I forgot about a bunch of people are about to show up and kill me. So uh, Prospero startles the lovers with his reaction and says he will go on a walk before giving a speech about the spirit show. He says that the world itself is as insubstantial as a play, and Ferdinand and Miranda leave him. So they're just like, dude, this guy is out of his mind. What the fuck is my dad talking about? Life is a play, dude. What? I think he's having a mental breakdown. Let's get out of here. So after that, dude, I gotta wipe my nose. I'm sorry. I don't know why my nose is always running during this. It would be funny if I just very loudly blew my nose, and at this point, it probably wouldn't even be that gross because I don't know if it's picking up on the mic, but I'm just full on just sniffling, dude, just nose full of snot sniffling. So, but anyway, dude, back to our play. We gotta finish this thing. We're already almost done. We only have like 2 pages left. So, uh, Ferdinand and Miranda leave, and Prospero summons Ariel, who made a mistake by not reminding Prospero of the plot. But it's like, Prospero, you should have remembered that, dude, and asks him what the conspirators are doing. So Prospero's like, Ariel, what's up, dude? Come here. Ariel's like, dude, I'm sorry, I forgot to remind you about the plot to murder you. But it's like, I don't know, that's kind of on Prospero for forgetting that. I don't really know, but and then Prospero's like, whatever, dude, I forgive you. Just tell me what they're doing. And Ariel says he led the men through a briar patch to a filthy pond, and the two set a trap on the conspirators, dude. And you're thinking at this point, Prospero's he's mad at these dudes for like taking his Duke ship away from him. What are they going to do? Kill him? No, it's even funnier than that. So Prospero and Ariel set out clothes for the men to steal and turn invisible. Soon after, the men arrive and decide to put on the clothes despite protests from Caliban. So I think Caliban at this point, he kind of knows what's going on. He was like, fuck, dude, we woke up in a pond again. This happens, this happens to me every fucking week. So he's like, dude, don't take the clothes, but they decide to take the clothes anyway. And at the same time, like as soon as they touch the clothes, a pack of dogs who are actually spirits show up and drive the men off. And now we're on to our final act, dude. We're on to Act 5 as well as the epilogue. I don't know where the epilogue begins, but it's somewhere in here. So Ariel reminds Prospero that his shift is over, and Prospero says, okay, and asks how the nobles are doing. So Ariel, dude, even during the whole big plot, he's like, dude, unless you're paying me overtime, then my shift's over. I'm done dealing with this for the day. But Prospero's like, okay, dude, just tell me what's going on with the nobles. And Ariel says that they are imprisoned in a grove and that Alonso, Sebastian, and Antonio are mad with fear while Gonzalo cries constantly. So even our main man, Gonzalo, dude, the dude has been chill for this entire thing. Even he's like, fuck, we're all gonna die. So Ariel leaves Prospero alone on stage where he promises to give up magic after he performs his final tasks. So Ariel leaves, and then Prospero turns to the crowd and he's like, dude, don't worry. I'm going to give up magic real quick, but I got to finish this thing first, dude. I got to get revenge on my enemies. Ariel, you can leave. So Ariel re-enters now with the charmed noblemen who stand in a circle while Prospero glazes Gonzalo and chastises the rest of them. So Prospero's like, Gonzalo, you're the fucking man, dude. You rule so hard. You're chill as hell. I fucking love you, dude. And then the rest of them, he's like, I fucking hate you guys. You guys drove me out of Milan. But once again, Prospero, that's kind of your fault, dude. You should have just not been doing magic. So Prospero redons his dukely clothes. That's how I wrote it. Before commanding Ariel to fetch the still sleeping sailors. Remember, at the beginning, when the ship crashes, Ariel pulls up and he's like, sailors, go to sleep. We're not focused on you. We're focused on the nobles. Prospero wakes the nobles and forgives Antonio, but demands his title back, and Antonio says nothing. Antonio's just, at this point, Antonio's like, dude, what's going on? This whole thing is very confusing. He hasn't even seen like the half fish guy yet, and he's still like, what is going on here, dude? I just woke up here. This is so weird. And so he says nothing. And Alonso tells Prospero about Ferdinand, and Prospero says he lost his daughter in the Tempest, or in the last Tempest, aka Storm, before pulling a curtain to reveal the two lovers. I don't know why I decided to cough at that moment, dude, but my voice, I'm about to go RFK. Let me take a sip of water. So I guess by when Prospero says he loses his daughter, I guess he means that she married Ferdinand, and this is like old school times, dude. So it's the daughter is like property, like the children are property, and so he's like, yeah, I lost my daughter too because she's now your property because she married your son. And so I guess Alonso's hyped. It doesn't really say anything about how Alonso felt, but I'm sure Alonso, as much as like a dumb dickhead as he is, he was probably pretty hyped that his son was still alive. And so Prospero invites. Wait, sorry. Ariel returns with the sailors. Goddamn, and and then fetches the three conspirators, who Prospero commands to clean the clothes that they stole. And then Prospero invites the company to spend the night and tells them of his plan to return to Milan after the marriage and gives Ariel his last charge: keep the seas calm on the way to Milan. So all of the characters then exit at that point, and Prospero gives the epilogue. He says he imprisoned Ariel and Caliban, and that the audience can only. Oh, he says that he is imprisoned. He didn't imprison Ariel. I don't know why I wrote that down. He freed Ariel. I don't know if he imprisoned Caliban. Wait, no. Okay, I get, I get what I wrote down now. So remember, Ariel and Caliban are his slaves, so they were imprisoned by him. I don't know why he brings that up at this point. And then he tells the audience that he can only be set free by them clapping. So this is Shakespeare. He's cheesing it a little bit, dude. He's just getting a free clap at this point. But hey, whatever you got to do, I get it. I get it, Shakespeare. I understand what you were going for. And so he gets a real quick free clap from the audience, and that's the end of the play, dude. We got it done in like what, 35 minutes, something like that. Pretty good. Pretty good run. All right, you don't got to watch like a whole 2 hour play where you don't understand any of the words. And that is something we got to work on, dude. I get it. We should have the plays where like they say the old words and stuff like that. But dude, I'm not going to be able to understand it. I don't care. I don't care how much fucking work I do. It's basically another language. At that point, it basically is another language, right? Like Spanish. I never got Spanish. I passed all my Spanish classes, but I don't get it. I'll never be able to learn Spanish. I'll probably never be able to learn how like the word Shakespeare uses and stuff like that, dude. So we gotta put out like the plain English plays. And I like looked it up and I couldn't find any. And I don't know, maybe that's because like they want to make money off the plays or whatever, but it's like, dude, you're stealing this from Shakespeare anyway. So why don't you be a nice person and just give me the play for free, dude? Stop making me play. Don't make me pay. I don't want to go to a real life play, dude. And not because I can't like sit down and just watch a play. I definitely could do that. I just don't want to be around people who go to plays. I think that's it's the main deterrent keeping me from going to one of like these Shakespeare plays. And also, I ain't trying to spend all that money, dude. Like I said, I ain't trying to go to a fucking community college and watch a bunch of people pretend to talk like Shakespeare, dude. I don't want to watch a bunch of community college students stumble over their words and shit like that. I don't really want to watch any of these people talk like Shakespeare talk, dude. I want to hear like good old fashioned English, dude. Just being like, yo, what's up? I'm Prospero. You guys got to clap now or else I'm going to be in prison forever. That's what I want to hear, dude. I don't want to hear thou hath imprisoned me in a chain of 1,000. I don't want to hear that, dude. I just want to hear be like, I want the Nelk boys, basically. if the Nelk boys If the Nelk boys were the ones putting on Shakespeare plays, I wouldn't miss a single one. I'd be following them around the country like I'm a groupie, dude. Just Kyle, Steiny, the weird Somalian black guy. I don't really know what he is. I don't know if he's light skinned or Somalian, but whatever the fuck he is, that guy. The other one, the fat one, the skinny fat one, the alcoholic, the severe alcoholic, the one that's teetering on alcoholism. All right, I want those guys. I want those guys giving me the play, not a bunch of nerds. Sip of water real quick. Not a bunch of nerds who are just like happy they can use Shakespeare words. I don't even know if the nerds understand it either. I don't know if they're just like parroting, not parodying, whatever. I don't know if they're just like parroting what Shakespeare wrote. I don't know if they actually like understand what they're saying. I'm sure they understand it a little bit, and I'm sure it's like easier to understand when you watch like a play of it because like the actions of the characters provide a lot of context and stuff. To be fair, I could probably go watch a play in Spanish right now or like a movie in Spanish and probably like completely understand it just because like you see what the characters are doing and you have an idea as to what's going on. It would probably be like a big reveal at the end of you like finally putting the whole plot together because you can't understand what anyone's saying, but I think I could understand it. So yeah, I'm not going to see any Shakespeare plays, dude. I'm not going to see any plays. And just because people that do plays, they're so annoying, and I'm sure people that do movies are also annoying as well. I'm sure they suck as people, but just something about play people. They they just have an air of annoyingness around them. They're just constantly just a cone, just a cone, a sphere, a fucking force bubble of annoyingness around them. Where you're like, dude, shut up. You do plays. You don't even come up with the stuff, dude. Someone else comes up with the stuff, and then you say it. You're not even doing all that, dude. And that's like the funny thing whenever you hear like actors talk, like if you go like go watch like a Johnny Depp interview or really any actor. It could be an actor in like a Marvel movie or something like that. And they're like, "Yeah, you really have to understand like the context and like the life of the characters and you really need to get into the mindset of the character to truly be able to play him well. You need to understand his struggle. And it's like, no, dude, you don't. You need to say the words. And that's the thing about actors, too. You have a director telling you how to do it. So not only are you not saying your own words, someone else is telling you how to say the words and do the actions, dude. They're the dumbest people on earth, and everyone acts like they're profound like Daniel Day-Lewis. I love Daniel Day-Lewis, or at least his movies and stuff like that. But everything I learn about him, I'm like, God damn, is this guy just an annoying fucking nerd? If you don't know, Daniel Day-Lewis, There Will Be Blood. What else is he in? Phantom Thread. He's been in a couple other big movies. And he's like a great actor. Like all his movies are really good. But he is just one of like those annoying like Hollywood artsy dickheads. Like he stopped acting for a few years to go be like a shoe cobbler, someone who repairs shoes in Italy. And it's just like, what are we doing here, dude? You have the easiest job in the fucking. It's the easiest job. I don't care what anyone says. That is like a high level actor like that, like a dude who gets paid like $50 million just for showing up. You have the easiest job in the world. There's nothing easier than that. I'm sorry, there literally isn't. They're like, oh, we work 16 hours a day or whatever. It's like, no, you don't. You're there for 16 hours a day, but you don't work for 16 hours a day. If we're even calling acting working, it's really not working. So you're there for however long in a day, let's just say 16 hours at the most, and you sit in like a trailer for most of the time and you have your fucking servants bringing you juice and food or whatever the fuck else. And then you go on a stage, basically a sound stage or a movie set or whatever, and you say words that other people wrote and you say them how another person is telling you to say them. I'm sorry, there's nothing to that. It's the easiest. Anyone could do it. The only reason, and I don't know what it is, dude. I don't know if society told them this. I don't know if their parents told them this, but you're not talented. The only reason you're successful is because you're nice to look at. It's the only reason why any of these people are successful. Anyone can become a good actor. Literally anyone. It's the easiest thing in the world, dude. It's not like being a deep sea welder or whatever, where you have to like be able to perfectly compose yourself at all times so that a live wire doesn't like shock you to death while you're 2,000 feet under the sea. It's not like that, dude. You show up and someone else tells you what to say and they tell you how to say it. Anyone can do it. It's like, I don't know. I think it's like the curse of being hot. Like these people, they're hot, right? And so they've gone through their entire lives just people not caring. People just being like, "Oh, he's hot. He can kind of do whatever he wants." They get praised for no reason. People tell them like they're talented or they're funny or whatever, and they just go through life like that, and they just believe it. And to be fair, everyone's telling them it, so of course they believe it. But it's like, I don't know. I think they need like a reality check from someone who just completely doesn't care, just showing up like a Midwest farmer showing up, being like, "No, you're not talented. Other people tell you exactly what to do, and they tell you how to do it, and you're just hot." That's the reason you're successful. Someone with a real job, an electrician or something, like a carpenter, someone who like builds houses all day, needs to show up and tell these dudes, you're not talented. You're not. I know you think you are. I understand where you're coming from saying that you're talented. I know everyone in your life has told you 1,000 times over that you're incredibly talented, but you're not. You're not talented. You have no skill at all. Literally. People just tell you what to do and you do it. Yeah, I don't know. It's like an accountant being like, yeah, it's just you really have to understand like where the numbers are coming from to be able to write an Excel spreadsheet or whatever. And it's like, no, no, you don't. You just need to do the math that you were taught how to do in college. It's just it's insane to me. These people, they act like they're spending their lives in solitude, making like the perfect sculpture or painting or something like that. And it's like, no, you're just talking. And you're not even coming up with the words that you're saying. You're just saying what someone else is saying, and you don't even do the stunts either. That's the thing. Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise is like the only actor who I've never heard, be like, you really need to understand it. Just all the dumb actor bullshit, and he's the one that actually does more work than all these people. Like Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise is like feeding himself into an active wood chipper. He's literally being ground into pulp, and he's not one of like these Daniel Day-Lewis's or Johnny Depp's or whatever, being like just stroking their and they're so pretend. All of them think, I don't know what they think about themselves, but they're wrong. I hate to break it to you. You're wrong about whatever you think about yourself, dude. If you're like a big Hollywood actor, whatever you think is true about yourself is the only thing that's true about you is that you're hot. You're just like a hot psychopath. That's it, dude. It's just it's crazy. It's insane. These people, they're not like spending years of their life as an apprentice, learning how to paint or draw or do oil pastels or whatever. They're not, studying the fucking canvases of Michelangelo for their entire lives. They're not, hauling a 2-ton piece of marble into a building and like turning it into a perfect representation of a human being. They're saying words that other people wrote. It's incredible. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's ever said this, but yeah, they all go through their lives being like, "Oh, I'm talented. I'm a genius." It's no, you're not, dude. If you were a genius, you'd be at MIT working on computers or something, dude. You, you would know what math is. If you were a genius, this is what I want to say to actors. If you were a genius, and I'm not talking about just like an art, there's obviously people who are artistically genius. If you were an actual genius, you would be doing math. You would know what math is. You would know how algebra works. You're not a genius, dude. You're just not. You just say words other people say. And by the way, in movies and stuff, they take like 50 takes of the same scene. I would have an Oscar too. Seriously. I would have an Oscar if you filmed me say I would get better at it. I'm sure at the beginning I probably wouldn't be that good at it, but after 50 takes of doing it over and over and over, yeah, I would be perfect at it too. Not a it's not a tall task, dude. You just say words other people wrote and you say it 50 times until you get it right. I would be able to do it too. But you're not you're not a genius. You're not some sort of person who figured out like the key to art or whatever these fucking idiots think. You're just a dude who says words. And they're also like the ones that like don't do interviews. Like I don't do interviews. Like Joaquin Phoenix, dude. Joaquin Phoenix, he like goes to interviews and he just like fucks with people the whole time, which to be fair is pretty funny. But I think the reason he does it isn't because he thinks it's funny. It's because he thinks he's like better than it. He thinks he's better than doing an interview. It's like, dude, you were in Joker. You literally you literally played a comic book character. How about we calm it down with the fucking self-righteousness, the entitlement, and just and do the interview. Answer the questions. Be fucking nice. It's it's insane to me. And people will be like, "Oh, well, the interviewers are disingenuous." Shut up, dude. Just do. You're getting paid $50 million. Just shut up and do what they tell you to do. And the other thing that pisses me off about actors is, like I said, like these guys, these actors are like, I don't want to be in the public eye. I don't want to, Robert Pattinson or whoever. They're like, I don't want to be in the public eye. I don't want to, have people running up on the street with me taking pictures. And it's like, dude, you're getting paid $50 million a year to do nothing. You can't have both. You can't you can't be paid millions of dollars to do nothing and then also be like, why is everyone obsessed with me? I don't know. Maybe people are obsessed with you because you get paid $50 million, and I'm sure 50 million is a high number, but even $1 million, $1 million is like a low number for like a lead actor in a movie, right? That's like an incredibly low number. Like no actor gets paid that little for like a lead role in a movie. You get paid that much money, you get paid 20 times more at least than most people who like work their asses off all day, and you get paid that much to do nothing. You're gonna have to do the interview. You're gonna have to live with the fact that people are taking pictures of you. These people, they're just so it's like yeah, I just want to be an anonymous millionaire who gets paid to do nothing. And it's like, yeah, dude, there's gonna be like some sacrifices in there. You're gonna have to do some things you don't like. And it's so annoying to me. They're like, I don't like being in the public eye. Why is everyone paying attention? Dude, it's just people go through worse punishment to get paid 20 times less than you. And 20 times less at the low end. We're probably talking 100 times less. More than like 500 times less, 1,000 times less to torture their bodies literally every single day for 12 hours a day for 40 years. Stop your bitching, dude. Stop your moaning. Stop your whining. Yeah, people are going to take pictures of you on the beach or whatever. You're just going to have to live with it. You know what you're not doing? You know what you're not? You're not in a 100-degree warehouse driving a forklift on 4 hours of sleep. That's what you're not doing. So how about we show a little bit of fucking appreciation here and just let them take the goddamn picture, dude? I get it. Sometimes they run up to you when like you're busy or you're with your kids or you're driving. Just take it. Just deal with it, dude. Or if you don't want to deal with it, move to fucking Missouri. That's the other thing. They're all like, they come up to me and they take pictures of me. That only happens in like that only happens in like Chicago, New York, and LA. Those are the only places where that happens. So how about you move to fucking like St. Louis or something like that? These people, they want to be millionaires, right? Who get paid to do nothing and live in. I've been to Los Angeles before. I know a lot of people shit on it. It's an amazing city, especially up in the Hollywood Hills. It's amazing to live there. So you want to be a millionaire who gets paid to do nothing, and you want to live in one of the greatest places in this country and one of the greatest places on earth. But you don't want, but you can't accept the fact that people are going to take pictures of you every now and then. It's like, and the problem, like I said, would be solved if they just like moved to fucking like Nebraska. Just move to fucking like Omaha or Lincoln or something like that and just deal with it, dude. It's it's insane. There's like people like on a movie set. There are people that are getting paid, like I said, 1,000 times less money than them to work for 12 hours, work nonstop for 12 hours. These people, they're insane. They're out of their minds to be like, oh, they're taking pictures of me and they're asking me questions. Oh, I have to go to an interview and sit in a chair and people ask me questions and I only get paid $50 million a year. And the rest of my job is so torturous because I sit on a movie set all day and eat food that other people bring to me. And then I get paid $50 million. My life is so horrible. I hate them so much. And I mean, there's a few that top the list, dude. There's a few that are really, really high up on there. Joaquin Phoenix, definitely high up on there, just being a dickhead to everyone. And I'm sure not to everyone. It's only in the interviews, but it's still like, dude, just shut up and eat shit. That's what everyone does for their entire life. It's so annoying. It's like everyone their entire life just shuts up and eats shit for 40 fucking years. That's all anyone does with their life. That's what like having a regular job is. You just shut up and you eat your boss's shit. Your boss just forces fucking shit down your throat with a fucking stick, like he's making a shit frogwa, and they do that for 40 years of their life. And he can't sit down in an interview for fucking 5 minutes and just be nice and answer some fucking questions. It makes me irate. So Joaquin Phoenix is up there for sure. Joaquin Phoenix is as well. Or Joaquin Phoenix is, I don't know if he's number one on the list, but he's definitely up there. And then I think who else is high on the list is Robert Pattinson, and Robert Pattinson isn't as much of like a brat as Joaquin Phoenix is, but he's still just wildly ungrateful and wildly annoying. Like Robert Pattinson's whole thing is like, I regret being in the Twilight movies, and the Twilight movies weren't real art or whatever. And it's like, dude, you were like 20 years. It just you were 20 years old and you got paid millions and millions of dollars and you got your career set up for the rest of your life. And you're like, but it wasn't real art. I wasn't even making real art. And it's like, dude, shut up. No one makes real art with their life. The vast majority of people sit in an office all day and have their souls ground into dust. And you're like, yeah, those 4 movies I made when I was 20 years old, those movies I made when I was like college aged, that made me millions of dollars and set me up for success for the rest of my life. Yeah, it just wasn't real art. And another thing that this is just me being mad when I shouldn't be mad, but fuck it, you got to do that sometimes. Sometimes you just got to get the anger out. And another thing that he does is he's like, my life sucks. He'll like, just like, there was like a Reddit thing, and people are like, oh, Robert Pattinson's so funny, and people are like, the questions were like, it was like a Reddit ask me, and then Robert Pattinson would respond or whatever, and they would be like, "What's your favorite part of your life?" or whatever, and he'd be like, "My life sucks. My life is awful." And it's like, it's the most privileged people on earth. They have more privilege than the other most privileged people on earth, which are like Americans or people who live in the West, right? Like as an American, you live a pretty privileged life. You're never really in too much danger. Yeah, it sucks. You're gonna have to work for your whole life. You're probably not gonna have kids and stuff like that. You're probably never gonna be able to buy a house. But compared to the vast majority of the world, it's not as bad as it could be. And this isn't me being like, stop your complaining. I understand it, but it's like, you just got to remember it could be a hell of a lot worse. And they're more privileged than that. They're more privileged than the most privileged people, like globally. In terms of like globally, who's the most privileged? People who live in Western countries. And they're more privileged in that. And somehow they manage to bitch about it. Somehow they manage to find something to be like, my life is awful. It's like, dude, just shut up. You're a hot dummy. Stop trying to be fucking Socrates, or what's the other guy's name? Not Dionysus. I don't remember the guy who lived in the barrel. Stop trying to be that guy. Shut up, be a hot dum dum, and say the words that other people tell you to say. They're the worst. They're like, I don't want to do an interview. Dude, fucking people go on interviews every fucking day for a job that pays them $20,000 a year, and they get asked a million questions, and then they don't end up getting the job in the first place. So how about you stop your bitching? How about you stop your fucking whining? It's so annoying. I hate them. I hate them. I hate actors, dude. If I ever met one, I would beat him. I would beat him like a dog, and it would be the most embarrassing beating ever. Like some people would be like, I'd beat him, like cave his skull. I would give him the most embarrassing like childhood beating ever. I'd be like, pull down your pants, and I'd bend him over my knee, and I'd spank his fucking ass right, and I'd be like, stop your goddamn bitching. Stop. I'd hit him with the classic, dude. I'll give you something to cry about. Seriously, I would hit that. I would pull that one out, and I'd be like, I'll give you fucking something to cry about, dude. Oh, you only make $50 million a year for doing nothing, and then you have to talk to people sometimes? God, God, your life is. Why did God curse you? Why did God curse you so horribly? He made you a hot dummy who's been given everything in life, and sometimes you have to talk to people, and sometimes you have to do a movie that you don't like doing. Oh my God. How awful is that? Right? Literally anyone would be like, yeah, I'll do it. Anyone would do it in a second. People would kill their families to be able to do that. Seriously. They'd be like, yeah, I get paid 50 million to do nothing, and I can retire when I'm like 50. It, I just hate them. I hate them so much. And the other thing is like, oh, I don't want to be famous. And it's like, all right, dude, then go do plays. You don't want to be fucking famous, then go do play. Or you can stop lying. Or you can stop lying to everyone and yourself, right? You can stop lying about the fact that you're a fucking psychopath, and you can go and do plays. How about that? They're ridiculous. I hate them so much. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something from Shakespeare. All right, I hope Shakespeare taught you a few lessons in there. Don't be fucking. I don't care if the guy's rejecting his duties to do magic all day. You can't fire him. All right. Prospero's a bit of a bitch, dude. I'm really not on Prospero's side. Sebastian and Antonio, a couple of fucking beasts. I'm more of a Trinculo and Stefano type of guy because they're just bullying the shit out of Caliban. They're pretty funny. But Prospero's a bit of a bitch. Same with Alonso, quite frankly. Antonio Sebastian, hilarious dude. Love you. Antonio Sebastian, you're listening to this dude, hit me up. Fucking hilarious. But, all right, that's all I've got for this episode, guys. It took less time than I thought it would, because the Midsummer Night's Dream, I didn't really talk about too much other shit during that whole thing, and that shit took me like an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. So, but The Tempest, hey, nice little play. I hate actors, but hope you have a good day, a good week, a good year, a good life. Good rest of your summer. We really don't have that much time left in summer, about 3 weeks maybe. But I hope it goes well. I hope it's a nice, nice time for you. But yeah, I'll see you guys on Thursday, probably sometime before then, though. Let's be honest here. I'm probably going to rank some other dumbass shit and post it on Reddit, and it's going to get instantly removed from Reddit. But I'll see you guys then. Peace.